The four quadrants, which will form the basis of the shared study by students and faculty, will be first, critical, integrative thinking, leading to judgment and ultimately to wisdom. The second, a study of the work of the Polymaths. The third will be the Tapestry, and the fourth, the tools with which to communicate all of this wonderful material. The first quadrant, identified as critical, integrative thinking, is to move away from the traditional linear approach to this material.
Is to move into the notion of critical and integrative thinking, that we don't, in human analysis, just pull things apart, we put them together as well. We fuse them together, that reality is one thing to be studied, but many things to be studied.
We mean in no way to minimize the importance of the specialty, but by detaching oneself from the specialty, by broadening the field of engagement and contemplation, to recognize the interrelatedness of all the material, if you will, of the arts, of technology, of philosophy. That's a way of disengaging and thus re-engaging. The second quadrant, the study of the Polymaths. What we really care about is how they thought. Just how did they get there? A perfectly good example of this, if you like, is Johann Wolfgang Goethe. Not surprisingly, his color wheel was chosen as the symbol of our academy. This fellow was a superb biologist, a member of the Weimar administration, that his philosophic writings at the end of the 18th century, the beginning of the 19th century, so influenced the first movement away from thinking of the world in classic Newtonian mechanistic terms and beginning to think in terms of the universe as quantum. This poet, musician, scientist made it clear that his engagement in each of these activities was an enormous influence on everything else that he did, and ultimately produced heroic results. That's the focus of our second quadrant.
Of the four quadrants, Tapestry is my favorite. I personally am a narrative historian. I've written many, many books of narrative history. And so I realize that in each successful moment of narrative, you are weaving together a complexity of thought, aspiration, things that did happen, things that might have happened, possibilities, probabilities, and certitudes.
And I note for you that the first syllable of Tapestry is a pleasant acronym. T-A-P, Technology, Art, and Philosophy, a weave.
And that rich tapestry is knowledge. It's how we function. That's my version, I think, Tapestry, of what Goethe is telling us in that beautiful colored wheel.
The fourth quadrant is communication. This will focus on developing a facility for standing before an audience and communicating what you truly believe and doing it in exciting fashion. This will deal with the art that is involved in writing, and this will deal with storytelling, those human capacities for communicating with others.
To ultimately tell a story of how something gets done, whether it be advanced physics or a piece of sociology or a new program of landscape design.
All of what we're talking about in this fourth quadrant, to be able to communicate, share, and perhaps as a consequence of that sharing, take further the thinking, the processing, the wisdom that you believe you have generated. The quadrants are the compass. The purpose of the compass is to make the journey a little bit more predictable. we also see some value in it not being all that damn predictable.
And we in the library don't give courses, we don't put requirements. The only requirement we have is that you come, talk, think, and be open to change.
We are truly convinced that both the student and the faculty engaged in this material really through the devices, the framework represented by the 4 quadrants, will come away with a far enhanced facility at the exercise of critical judgment and ultimately the development of personal wisdom.